Alright, so today we're learning about angles. Do you guys know what an angle is?
Yes.
Good. I'm going to give you the official definition. An angle is two rays with a common endpoint. Okay, let's go ahead and draw an example of an angle. So I'm going to put a point for the endpoint, and then I'm going to draw two rays that are coming from that endpoint. And there I have an angle. Okay? The endpoint is always called the vertex. Okay, so this point right here where the two rays meet is called the vertex of our angle. So that's a vocabulary word you should learn. There are three ways to name angles. You need to know all three because your book uses different methods. One way that we can name an angle is by just putting a little number in the corner. That's a really easy way to name an angle. Please don't make me ask you to be quiet. On my desk. Okay, we can just put a little number in the corner. What number should we name this angle?
5.
Okay, for some reason I heard 5, so I'm writing a 5. So I put a little 5 in the corner and I can call this angle 5. Okay? Another way to name an angle is to name the vertex with a capital letter. I don't care. I was going to use B, so I'm just going to put B. So we could call this angle B. Another way to name our angle is if we have points here and here, we can actually name an angle with 3 points, A, B, and C. Or we could name it CBA. What do you notice that those two names both have in common with our picture? The vertex is the middle letter. That is essential, that the vertex is in the middle. So that number B, or that letter V, that B that represents the vertex is in the very middle of the name. Okay? Now these are much easier to use, but there are times when we have to use this because we have angles that are next to each other and we can't tell which one we're talking about unless we do this. Okay? Alright. Angles are measured in a unit called degrees. Angles are measured in degrees. You guys heard of degrees before?
Yeah.
There are 360 degrees if you go around an entire circle. So how many will be in half of a circle?
180.
Good, so half of a circle is 180 degrees, so we'll talk about that today. And of course we've already talked about right angles that are like a corner that are 90 degrees. Okay. Sometimes you'll see a little M in front of an angle. When you see the little M like that, this means that you are saying measure of angle B. I still hear talking that shouldn't be happening. Measure of angle B is what the little M means. If the M is not there, that means you're talking about an object called angle B. If the M is there, that means you're talking about a number of degrees that represents how big your angle is or how far open it is right here. That's how angles are measured, and we'll talk more about that soon. Okay, moving on. 4 types of angles. So this is scooching where you cannot see it anymore. The first type of angle that we're going to talk about is acute. Remember, I'm recording a video, so you can watch it later if you miss something. An acute angle is less than 90 degrees. Okay? We'll draw a picture of that in a minute. The next type of angle you need to know is called a right angle. We've already talked briefly about right angles. How many degrees are right angles? 90. 90 degrees. And a right angle is like the corner of a square, and in order to show that it's a right angle, we put a little box in it like that. So the angle is how far apart these rays are from each other, how open they are from each other, okay? So if an acute angle is less than 90, then that means that the space between the rays is smaller, okay? Have you guys heard the word acute used in any other definition, just in everyday language? Where have you heard the word acute used before? Okay, that's a good one. See, this is kind of a cute little angle, don't you think? Oh, it's cute. It's little. Okay, there's actually another definition for the word acute. You might have heard it in association with like having an appendicitis. If you have a really sharp pain like you would have when you have an appendicitis, sometimes that is called an acute pain. So the word acute also happens to mean sharp. Sharp pain, acute pain. So if the word sharp is associated with this angle, why would that work for this type of angle? If we had a knife that was shaped like this, would that have a really sharp point on it? Yes. So an acute angle is sharp. Okay? Next type of angle we're going to talk about is obtuse. An obtuse angle is greater than 90 degrees. It's greater than 90 but less than 180. We don't have a name for angles that are bigger than 180 because we don't generally talk about them that way. We just deal with them being greater than 90 and less than 180. Okay. So an obtuse angle is greater than 90. That means that the rays are even further apart. Would this make an acute knife anymore? No. A nice sharp knife? No, because that point is not very sharp, right? The blade is too wide. Well, we don't usually make knives shaped like this unless you're making a whole axe handle, which would not be just a single angle, right? Okay. One way that I like to remember the word obtuse, and I don't mean any offense by this, it's just how I remember it, is by associating it with the word obese and thinking that instead of this being a cute little angle, it's now an obese large angle, right? Okay? Shh. There shouldn't be any laughing or pointing at anyone. I will wait till you'll put a weird pause in my video for all my classes to watch. This is my second period class, by the way, that's being noisy and causing this video to be too long. Are we ready? Okay, won't that be fun to watch this video and remember good times? Okay, the word obtuse. The word obtuse in reality means dull. Or means, sometimes we use the word obtuse, like it can be used in other vocabulary to mean, like you might use the word obtuse referring to someone that doesn't catch on to things very quickly. That maybe is kind of dull, like their mind isn't very sharp. They kind of have a dull mind. We call them obtuse when they're not very good at understanding things. So that might feel like another insult, and I don't mean it that way, because I'm not referring to any of you. I'm just saying that that's what the word means. Okay. Last one is straight. We all know what a straight line is. So a straight line, it's exactly a 180-degree angle. Another name we learned for this last chapter is we actually learned to call this opposite rays, because it's two rays going opposite directions. So it's exactly 180 degrees to go clear around half of a circle, more or less. Okay. Now we're going to learn how to measure angles. You should all have a protractor. Listen carefully to how to measure angles.